Okay. All right.
And we're live right here on Smash Raw Podcast.
Yay! Yeah, we are live. Nice. All right. Let's do the intro. Come on now. Hey, folks, welcome to the SmackDown Podcast, your home for all your WWE and AEW recaps and pay-per-view predictions. Is Kyle here? We got a short staff tonight, man. It's me and you, Seb.
God, I can't remember when's the last time we had two people on the show.
It's been a couple of weeks, I think, man. Ever since before we started recruiting people. Just me and you. Nice light show. Special episode this week. We are doing our throwback episode. This is something that we're trying to implement before every WWE pay-per-view. Try to get a little throwback in there, a little bit of extra flavor to our podcast. This one, we are covering the widely regarded best Clash of the Champions, and it happens to be the debut, the inaugural event. It was the very first one. It was conceived back when McMahon was starting to be the juggernaut in the wrestling world. NWA tried to slow his ascent to the top of the wrestling game by doing Clash of the Champions free on television the same night that WrestleMania aired. Did you know that, Seb?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I knew that little piece.
Do a little bit of
research.
research.
I didn't know a lot about this little area, but I did know that it was programming and stuff like that.
Yeah, counter programming. We got a little bit of a video package. Actually, before we get into it, man, let's go ahead and plug everything else, man. We are a pro wrestling podcast. If you are new, you probably are getting that by now. You can find us on most podcast platforms, Stitcher Radio, Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. We also do live streams for a lot of our shows. We are actually live right now on YouTube, and we have more original YouTube content coming over there. So go ahead, do us a favor, hit like and subscribe, maybe share this on social media, get some more people into our show. But thank you guys for joining us nonetheless. You can also find us on Twitter, myself at the Kai Tai Show. The show's Twitter handle is at SmackDrawPod, and of course Sebastian is at WrestlingFan_32. Seb, let's go ahead and just air this out now. Let's air this out now so people get an idea of what they're getting in for. You're not coming from two wrestling uber nerds that we find pleasure in every generation of wrestling. It's just like music, right? It's kind of like music. You've got your taste. You got your genres that you're into. 80s golden age, I hate to say it, not my cup of tea for the most part, man. What about you, Seb?
Yeah, I was born in 1994, so it feels weird for me to one, go back and watch stuff before I,
Right. I can
this area, watch the complete show. I went back and watched like Hogan, Andre, Steamboat, Macho Man, stuff like that. But as far
as like top to bottom, yeah, it is up there for me too. It was so so before you guys go nuts in the comment section and click away, it's not like I'm gonna sit here and not acknowledge this was a really good show. You can tell there are certain things that I think are required to have put on a good show. Pacing, good matches, hot crowd. Boy, that crowd was hot there in the Greensboro Coliseum. Man, they erupted at times. Like they were kind of into it, in the beginning of the show. But I think what kicked off was the second match of the night, which was the NWA United States Tag Team Championships between the Midnight Express with um, James Cornette, and then against the Fantastics. Boy, I'm telling you, man. Apparently, if you had a beer gut and a blonde mullet back in the '80s, women were nuts for you. Like, oh my god, dude, it
I
was.
just thought they had 2 tag team titles.
Yeah, it was crazy. But, oh yeah, that was another cool thing about the show was just the different. We're so used to the modern titles that we know, and it's interesting to see previous championships. Um, yeah, previous championships that were on the show. Um, but before you guys think that we're gonna bash on this, no, man. Like the show was good. For me, it's just the aesthetic, the retro vibe. No, also not having any nostalgia. You know what I mean? I have no connection to this. This event took place just a couple months before I was born. Um, so this was just my complete introduction to it. Um, but like I said, I did find enjoyment. I did kind of have to force myself to get through it at times. But then there were other times, man, I was definitely into it. So if there is an older event, I guess that might sway my opinion. This was a good argument, man. I really can't hate on it. It's just not my cup of tea at the end of the day. Um, and that's just putting it lightly. Uh, but I don't know, man. It took place in Greensboro, North Carolina. That's actually just short drive from where I'm at. And I've been to this Coliseum. I don't know if I told you this, Seb, but I was actually in the Greensboro Coliseum in 2017 to watch the soft reboot of Starcade. So I went and saw the I don't know what you would call it, like it was like one of those special house shows. Uh, they just did like what Smackville recently. It's kind of the equivalent of that. They were just in Greensboro and they just brought out a bunch of stuff. Ric Flair was there and it was interesting. But I guess let's go ahead and get into the show, man. Um, the show kicked off with Tony Schiavone introducing the show, and then to my delight, first familiar face, good old JR himself, Jim Ross is there to commentate on the action. Did Jim Ross's voice stand out to you, or did he seem like a completely different person?
Uh, Not a completely different person, but yeah, he sounded different.
It wasn't like Attitude Era, like meme to death. By God, Jim Ross. This sounded
No,
like
no, it wasn't. No.
yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
It wasn't the over eccentric. He really was a more clean cut commentator, which I found myself watching the show and just not realizing at times that that was Jim Ross on the other end on the microphone. Um, but yeah, we had this was interesting, man. So this is what caught my attention right away was the different match types that I had never seen before. Our first match was the NWA Television Championship. Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin with Precious at his side versus Captain Mike Rotunda, the Fiend's dad. This man helped conceive the Fiend, okay? And he came out in a Letterman jacket. He was totally like a jock.
What?
And with Kevin Sullivan.
What? He's the Fiend's dad?
Yeah, Mike Rotunda. That's the father of Bray Wyatt.
Holy shit! I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he later was known as IRS when everybody in WWE, their gimmicks were just like real life jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah,
But yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah, so that was a nice little. I was like, okay, I'm finding things that help connect me. That's what kind of helped. I was like, okay, I have connections through Jim Ross. Oh, I know who Mike Rotunda is. And then so what did you think about this? The match was contested under quote unquote amateur rules, right? It was
Yeah.
3 5-minute rounds with a 30-second break in between rounds, and it was a 1 count for pinfall. Not to be confused with 1 fall, but 1 count. Ref gets down, slaps the mat once, bam, winner, just like that. What did you think when that dawned on you that was like, this is like a different match, man?
Yeah, it was different, and I even put in our little group chat. It was like, man, I don't know about this match as a amateur style, and Benji actually said that this was kind of common back in the day.
Dude,
so I didn't know that either.
I came out of this wanting to see it more. I was like, man,
Yeah.
this would be a nice little touch for those guys who like pride themselves on being like shoot wrestlers, like legitimate amateur wrestlers and stuff. I was like, this is
Yeah, it was. College Summit, like when I think it was. I think it was rotation.
I'm sorry, you broke out there. What was that?
Psychology on it and how they presented it.
I
Yeah, it was cool.
I apologize, man. You cut out for like the last 20 seconds. Like, you literally came back in when you were just like wrapping up your statement.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just thought it was cool. First, it was kind of hard to get into it whenever they announced it. But I really liked the psychology of it. Like when Rotunda got thrown off the top rope, but immediately turned on his stomach to protect his shoulders.
Right. Yeah, that was. I was into it, man. This was one of my favorite matches of the night. Was this opening one?
But yeah, like I said, I really liked the psychology of it. It could work in today's world, like you said, with the amateur like Adolph versus Chad Gable. So yeah, I could see it working today.
Yeah, me too. I liked it, and I picked up the announcer. They announced Rotunda as Mike Rotundo. That was it was a minor blip, but it made me chuckle. The ending saw how did it go down? My notes just freaking turned off. But I remember it actually. So the ending was so we got through first round, and Rotunda was about to get the pin. He was working over Garvin to get the pin, and then the round came to an end before he could get him fully pinned. And then shortly into round 2, Precious, who was like a minor, impact in the match. Kevin Sullivan started to mess with Precious, which drew the ire of Garvin, who was distracted, did the whole classic distracted, walked up to the ring ropes, and then Rotunda got the quickest roll-up victory. Just literally got behind him, rolled him, won, over, just like that. Super fast. I really liked the match. Oh, I completely forgot to mention, too, by the way, Playa Teddy Long was the ref of this match. Oh, my God. That was interesting to see him, especially because he got in Rotunda's face at one point. Rotunda was trying to push him back, and Teddy Long was not taking any of that, man. And then
he's about to put him in a tag team match.
Yeah, we're throwing 1-on-1 with the Undertaker. No. After the match came to a close, we had Rick Steiner run down to make it a 3-on-1 beating until Precious cracked Steiner with, I think, was it like a chair or something? She cracked him with something and started strangling Kevin Sullivan with a coat hanger. I'm assuming the coat hanger was slipped into some story, because they definitely referenced it like it was a known thing, not just that she just had a random coat hanger on her.
And that was kind of a thing for tonight. They would bring stuff up like what I imagine was part of the story, but I had no idea, so I was just trying my best. But I think it was a 2x4. It looked like a 2x4.
It's like a board. Yeah, no, you're right. It was a 2x4. It was a 2x4. Yeah, I remember. They, man, they were 80s. I'll give them one thing, man. They had a lot of creative. They had more freedom back then, because it wasn't like some like corporate dictated entity. You know what I mean? You had a lot of creative minds back then, and you got to see a variety of weapons that just didn't stand out, which we'll get to in the match after the next one. Because boy, oh boy, we had a crazy match at one point. This was followed by the excuse me, NWA United States Tag Team Championships between the challenger, the Fantastics, taking on the Midnight Express with James Cornette out there. Cornette with a racket, right? He had a racket with him.
Yeah.
Another, like I said, another story thing I'm just not familiar with. Although I do want to say I've seen bits and pieces throughout history showing Cornette with a racket. I just don't know. The women, super loud. I mean, the crowd in general were hot for this match. This must have been like peak Midnight Express run. And unfortunately, I don't know anything about the Fantastics. For a while there, I thought one of them was Jeff Jarrett. I'm not gonna lie. I was looking at one guy, like squinting at him, like, is that Jeff? But man, the crowd were hot for this match. They were super behind the Fantastics.
They was.
Yeah.
I was into this match.
Yeah. It was good.
It was. Classic tag team psychology. And I think the stuff before the match really got me into it. Like, as soon as they went in there and started brawling, and Cornette was out there throwing chairs around for no fucking reason. It's just chaotic.
This was like a TLC match before TLC matches were a thing. They had everything, dude.
And Cornette being a bastard out there, there was one point in the match where he just held a table up like on the apron to let him throw Roger's head into it.
Yeah,
it was one of the most unique things I've ever seen.
I like that one part. Cornette is in the middle of all the action because it broke down into chaos. This match was just chaos, and I like Cornette had a chair at one part, and he's trying to look for someone to throw it at. But everybody's like wrapped up doing their own thing, and Cornette is just like the John Travolta meme, just looking back and forth, like I don't know what to do with this damn thing. He finally throws it at one of the members of the Fantastics, and the chair barely makes it to him. It's like when your wife tries to toss you the car keys and it falls short by like 2 feet. It's pretty much what happened with the chair, and the guy still sold it. Like it hit him in the shoulder or something. It was such a hot mess. But no, man, I think this was my favorite match of the night. I'm not gonna lie, just because it was so fast paced and over the edge, man. And it was some fun stuff. And it also had a cool ending as well. The ref was unable to keep everybody contained. And this got out of hand when the Midnight Express were able to take advantage of it too. And the ref would be too busy working on one of the Fantastics, and then Cornette would be getting in the ring and working over the other member of the team. And at one part, I don't remember the guys' names, unfortunately, but at one part, one of the members has enough.
Rogers and Paul.
Thanks. I think it was Rogers threw the ref over the rope. No,
that was Fulton. Because I actually have had my notes. Yeah, Fulton threw the ref out.
Yeah, so Fulton threw the ref out, and then we got what was the finishing move, man? I feel so stupid now. I forget how it went down because the ref went out.
Cornette tried to interfere. It kind of backfired with the chair, and they hit the rocket launcher.
That's it, the rocket launcher. Yeah. They hit the rocket launcher for the win. Another ref comes down, gives the 3 count. We got new champions, but hold on. The original ref that Fulton threw out makes his way back in the ring and overturns the decision, calls for a DQ. Yeah, and then pretty much in all the confusion, the Midnight Express ended up beating down the baby faces more, holding Fulton up on the ropes and just getting like freaking whipped to death by Cornette after the match. That looked painful, man.
With a belt.
Yeah,
Yell about.
yeah, he hit him with his own damn belt, man. That was rough.
And then after the match, I died. Jim gets his racket and just hits a ref for no fucking reason as he's walking back. Just walks by the ref and hits him with the racket.
Oh man.
Oh,
There was so much of that stuff that was just figured out on the fly back then. You know, no, you could tell like with the interviews,
oh my
like
God.
Gary
Yeah.
Hart's promo. Gary Hart, I think it was. Um, he was fumbling all over his words. We got an interview after the match. Hart was promoting the upcoming match between Dusty, the 3-on-3 match with Dusty Rhodes in it, and then he just bumbles over his words, and he was like, "You're gonna need more than a baseball bat. I hope you're a professor of the baseball bat." But you still won't. It's the baseball bat still won't be able to beat. It was just so weird. Like some people
Like a lot of these interviews were.
were, yeah, because they weren't
I
heavily
can't remember.
scripted.
Like, it was later on in the show before the main event. I can't remember who it was. It was the, he was from another country. Falling off something. I can't remember, but it somehow got to like kids being on drugs and stuff at the end. I was like, what are we even talking about anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
And like when he started it, he sounded like a heel, and then he got to like, I don't know, he was trying to keep kids from not getting on drugs and stuff. So I was like, are you a heel or a face or what is even happening?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even.
No.
And they had a lot of these interviews too. Like I know we wouldn't cover them on here because we didn't know who half the people were anyway. But man, it seemed like probably 12 interviews like this throughout the show. Just
Well, yeah, because they didn't really have like the weekly television, I think, back then. So you had to push stories through. You had to take advantage of all the time you had to continue stories and create new feuds and stuff. Because it's not like we had, like 5 hours of NWA on television every week, to do that with.
Yeah.
So I get why they had to cram as many people calling their shots before matches even took place. So I understood that. So we have up next what I've dubbed like the longest match type name I've ever heard. I don't know if it's the official name, but I know it was something along the lines of like a Texas barbed wire 6-man tag Chicago street fight. Like I was like, what the fuck is this?
in my notes, I just put barbed wire 6-man tag. I was like, fuck that shit.
No, because they were like, oh, we got a 6-man tag match Chicago street fight taking place in a Texas barbed wire ring, and I was like, what the hell is this, man? It was so funny.
This match was rough to get through.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, this is where the stoic, slow, very deliberate, one move at a time pacing from the golden age that, a lot of us newer wrestling fans and current generation wrestling fans have a hard time with because it's so slow and deliberate. But, apparently this match was super quick. It was because we've already been talking about the match longer than it actually was. Because apparently when you gimmick wrestling, like ring ropes and stuff,
You can't.
You can't do much. You really can't. So you had the Road Warriors with Dusty Rhodes and Dusty Rhodes in Road Warriors face paint taking on the Powers of Pain and Ivan Koloff. And pretty much, dude, like 30 seconds into the match, everyone's bleeding. It was like everyone pair up, go to barbed wire, rake one of each other's faces on it, and then blade yourself. And just do that until everyone in the ring is bleeding. Because that's exactly what happened. It was like they rang the bell, and it's almost like they all just grabbed hands and just walked over to the barbed wire and just took turns raking each other on it. That's really the only memorable thing I have from this match, other than the ending when Barbarian, I think his name is, accidentally hits Koloff with a diving headbutt. He was trying to break up a pin, and Animal got out of the way. Koloff gets hit with a diving headbutt. Match is over. I didn't time the match. I wish I did, but this match couldn't have been more than 4 minutes, maybe. It was shorter than like a 2014 Divas match.
Yeah, it wasn't long at all. And thank God, really. Like I said, this one I struggled to get through. The guys couldn't even move in there. I mean, all 6 guys were pretty good sized dudes.
Yeah.
And like you said, the ring ropes, you couldn't even really touch them unless you was wrecking somebody's face on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough to get through.
It's actually why this match was actually why I had to break up the show into 2 days. I'm not gonna lie to you. After that match, I was like, "Yep, that's all the NWA I can handle for tonight." I was like, "This show will be easier to digest in 2 sittings."
I went through it all, man.
You powered through like a pro, like the pro that you are, man. After that, we have our not co-main event. Yeah, co-main event of the night. The NWA World Tag Team Championships. Lex Luger and Barry Windham taking on the 4 Horsemen, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard with J.J. Dillon. I'm not gonna lie. When I see Lex Luger, I just tune the F out, man. But when I see Arn Anderson, I get super excited because of Spinebusters. You know, so this match was a chore, bro. This was a chore to get through for me. But it really was. This was like prime Luger, right? This is what he was just like he could beat tag team champions by himself. And that's pretty much what it was. Is he was like
that's what the story was pretty much.
80s John Cena over here. Luger ran wild, man. He ran freaking wild in the beginning of this match. I don't know. What'd you think of the match, man? Talk us through it.
It was good. Honestly, which I liked the main event too, but I really enjoyed both tag team matches. Story of the match was Lex could pretty much beat him by himself. Wyndham took a lot of damage while he was in there, and of course, like you said, hot tag to Lex, and it was over from there.
He did kick. I was gonna say Wyndham did prove to be tough, kicking out a lot.
Yeah, and the slingshot, for example, Blanchard hit the slingshot. Had a really good near fall there, but there was a lot of good near falls in this match. It wasn't just that one, but that one was the most. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know anything about this area really. I don't know what happened after this, but the commentary showed this to be a huge deal.
Well, it's the 4 Horsemen.
Yeah.
You know,
which I get that.
Yeah.
But there's like a new era in tag team wrestling has begun.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened after this, but I kind of want to go back just to see what happened to them.
Yeah, so I assume, judging by how they treated it, is the Horsemen were on their legendary tear. They were just like that stable that just could not be touched. You know what I mean? And every time all the baby faces were always like underdogs. They never had the advantage. And anytime that a face would get a win over the Horsemen, it was a big deal back then. You know what I mean? Just like, I'm trying to think of like modern stables, but we don't really have any in WWE. Like the only thing that really comes to mind is like probably like Evolution back in the day. You get a win over them, it was a big deal because at one point they were draped in gold. Or maybe the Shield. Yeah, trying to get wins over the Shield back when they were in their prime, that was a big deal. But yeah, so I mean, I assume it's just that case right there, is they were just untouchable for some time. But yeah, so the Luger and Wyndham won them, and the crowd went nuts. Like, thank God, yeah, man, you need more crowds like '88 Greensboro Coliseum. We really do. We do need more crowds like that. But
Yeah, they ate everything up the whole night. I mean, they just ate everything up. It's been a while since I've seen a crowd that receptive to every single thing in the show.
yeah, yeah, they just you could hear the screams. You could hear the women. That's what kept sticking out to me. You could hear the women a lot
Yeah,
more.
there's a lot of women.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why that stands out to me right now. I'm trying. I was like you guess you don't really hear too many vocal women in the crowd nowadays. It's kind of like overrun by like young and middle-aged men going to live crowds and getting vocal. But back then, boy, especially when uh Rob Rude, no, not Rob Rude, yeah, Rob Rude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob Rude.
No,
No, Rick Rude. Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck? No, it ain't Rob Rude. Rick Rude. Jesus Christ. Thanks, Rob. Screwing up my memories. Um, Rick Rude back in the day, man, you'd hear women like nuts. Man, something about him back in the day, man. I guess he was just more in shape than most men back then. And he had that mustache. Never really thought of the mustache as being like a appealing thing for women, but I guess different eras, back in the day.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Mustaches and mullets, dude.
Mustaches and mullets, man. Goodness gracious, man. I'm so happy I live in our era. I mean, I know that every era has its embarrassing, like, trends and fads, but boy, mustaches and mullets, they did not age well. Not at all. So we get to our main event of the evening, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, man. And I look at the timer and realize that, boy, we got a little shy of an hour left in the show. I was like, this is going to be a barn burner. But you got Sting taking on the champ Ric Flair in a 45-minute timed event. And if
45-minute draw.
Yeah. And if it goes to the time limit expires, then it's left up to judges, like modern sports, really. So it's interesting, man. What do you think about Surfer Sting and then 80s Ric Flair?
Man, this is probably my favorite match. It was really weird. Well, not weird, I guess. I haven't seen much of Surfer Sting, obviously.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen much of Prime Flair. I've seen some 90s Flair and, of course, the mid-2000s and all that.
Yeah.
But this is the youngest I've seen Rick. And I always hear these people, Ric Flair's the greatest of all time and all this. And personally, from what I watched, it was hard to tell, but he really did. I could see where people would say that living in this era. I really enjoyed it. I did, just both of them, just seeing them. And
Flair knew and knows how to work a crowd over, man. That dude knew how to get heat. God,
he made Sting look like $1 million.
Yes.
He really did.
Yeah, because I've never really so this was my first introduction to Surfer Sting as well, and Sting's a fast, athletic guy.
Yeah, it's a different dude.
Yeah, he's fast and athletic, but he's never got like the flashiest arsenal. You know what I mean? But anytime he hit Flair, man, Flair was selling it. And yeah, you're right. It made Sting look like $1 million.
The first time I seen Sting was TNA.
Wow.
Like,
so you didn't even see
when the war
WCW
ended,
Sting.
No, when the war ended, I was like 5-year-old.
That's true.
So,
yeah, that's true.
So yeah, this is a whole different Sting to me. This guy was out there doing nip ups. He's doing high drop kicks. He was getting hot. There was one sequence where Flair was around the ropes. Sting does a couple, like 3 leapfrogs, and then just catches him for a gorilla press slam. And I loved that sequence. I mean, it was just a different Sting for me.
Yeah. Yeah, man. the match was pretty slow, but it's because we had such a long match ahead of us. And once the ring announcer tells us that there's 5 minutes remaining, um, that's when these guys really picked it up. They worked fast and hit hard. Flair was doing everything he could to just slow down Sting, um, and they trade a couple near falls. The crowd was behind Sting, man. They were trying to get him going. And it was just they worked like a frantic pace, and it came down to them counting down. I think the last, oh god, because they were counting it down.
Yeah,
The
his
ending.
last 10 seconds.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean the time guy, man, he had suspense. He'd count down from 40 to 30 to 20. I'm not seconds. I'm just talking about
Yeah.
total.
30
30
seconds.
minutes left. 20
seconds.
minutes left.
Yeah,
10 minutes left. 5. I think he did 2.
Dude, and
And 1 minute.
when Sting hit the
45, 30, and then the last 10.
Yeah. Dude, when Sting hit the Stinger splash, dude, everyone came unglued. Jim Ross sold the hell out of it. He nailed him! And just like, oh my god, man. Sting got that Scorpion Deathlock, and it was a wrap, man, but Flair held on,
Last
dude.
30 seconds. Yeah, he had
Man.
that. His last 30 seconds, he had.
God, dude,
Deathlock.
Flair held on, man. Oh, we forgot to mention, this was like a shark cage match, too. J.J. Dillon was suspended above the
Yeah.
damn ring the whole time.
Got them 45 minutes up in the air.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine? Oh, man.
He was still up there talking shit, too.
Yeah, man, he was adding the emotion, you know, because it looked like when he saw Sting in the Scorpion Deathlock, man, it was like he gave up. He was like, ah, crap, it's done. But yeah, man, went to a time limit, and even though there was 5 ringside judges, we only had 3 of the scores announced. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. That was in my notes. That was odd. I don't
Yeah.
understand that.
So what we have here is what's referred to as a draw, essentially. Yeah, I mean it's a draw, folks. Come on, you got 1 vote for Flair, 1 vote for Sting, and 1 a draw. But it's Dylan started celebrating. Sting looked like his heart was broken. He couldn't believe it, man. He thought he had it. And Flair sold the hell out of it all the way back up the ramp, man.
He did.
Yeah, they both sold it. That they were at their peak, man. That was a WrestleMania level match, which is good because they were facing off against WrestleMania, you know. And it's cool, man. Rarely do you get a event nowadays, which is like it's their first event and it go off so fondly remembered, and not to mention be regarded as the best to this day. Tomorrow night we got Clash of Champions, and here we are 31 years later, and the first one is still heralded as the best of all of them. So that's a special thing also to take note there. But overall, man, good show for me. It was kind of a chore to get through it, not gonna lie, but it had its moments that really won me over and made me appreciate the era, I guess, a little bit more, and then also see what fans are talking about. I think that was probably the most positive thing I got away with this, is sometimes when you hear people talk about wrestling in the 70s and the 80s, you kind of just like, I don't know, brush it off. But there were moments where I was like, oh yeah, there's some specialness, especially to Ric Flair, man. Jesus. One of the greatest of all time.
Like I said, the 2 tag team matches I really enjoyed. Jim Cornette on the outside. I mean, I disagree with a lot of things he says today, obviously on Twitter and all that, but I could see him. You know, he was really entertaining. It was cool seeing in this age of their careers. Like, how crazy is it? 20, well, not 20 exact years, but 20 years later, Flair had his retirement.
Oh, at WrestleMania?
Yeah. He lasted 20 years after this. I mean, it just,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, dude, he technically he still kept wrestling. I bet that dude would still wrestle today if it wouldn't like kill him.
Yeah, WWE retirement match, I
Like
should say.
let me see. So out of this, who's still going? Um,
Midnight
the
Express.
Midnight Express. That's who I was gonna get to. Yeah, Midnight Express is still wrestle events every year. Um,
I think something they were doing something for New Japan.
yeah, that's it really. And then possibly Sting might have a match here soon. Colin seems to think that is a lock. That
Yeah,
Sting and Undertaker's taking place in Saudi Arabia. I don't know, man. I wouldn't hold your breath. Um,
I think other, yeah, Steen, Arn Anderson is still in the business.
yeah,
So
Anderson will pop up for a spine buster here and there. You know what I mean? We just saw him as recent as what was it?
all out, all
All
out.
Out. Yeah, All Out. I'm trying to think of like what WWE match it was. No, yeah, you're right. All Out came out, hit Cody with a spine buster. Who did he hit with
Yep.
a spine buster?
No, Spears.
Spears. That's right. Spears with the spine buster. That's right. Cody was the good guy in the match. Um,
And next week he'll be the bad guy.
yeah, yeah, he will. Can't wait to talk. I can't wait for AEW to get up and running so they can start getting some decent weekly stories going. Do you feel like AEW has lost a little bit of its muster, a little bit of its shine?
Uh, Look, at the end of the day, it don't matter what it is when you announce something. It's gonna have more shine. It's new, you know.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, I guess you could say that. Uh, they've had what 5 shows, I guess now. So, yeah, there's more to critique on.
yeah,
If you listen to any of the post shows we've done, I've critiqued on some stuff they've done, and I'm sure when they do their weekly stuff, there'll be even more. There's a difference of doing a pay-per-view every 2 months and then having to write weekly storyline. So,
yeah. And they got their
yeah,
hands full going up against NXT. Boy,
yeah, that's another discussion. I actually
man,
had a
yeah,
long discussion with a guy on Twitter earlier.
yeah. I wouldn't mind
Uh,
us doing a show just talking about the future of AEW and NXT, like the kind of like the pre-war, whatever you're gonna call it. Man, I don't even want to call it a war. I feel like that's overplayed.
uh,
It's, I mean, it
I
is
think it's a
too.
war.
They are going in direct competition, man. They're counter programming themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They are being counter programmed by NXT, man.
yeah, it's a war, whatever you want to call it. It basically is, and yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think as long as I think us fans, we should kind of keep it civil and just enjoy some great wrestling. But you know, these guys that's out there doing these shows want to go out and prove their best. So
Yeah, I can't wait though. I cannot wait. Um, yeah, but you guys, thank you for joining our show. It's a little bit on the shorter side today for once. Looks
well, we
like
only had 5 matches. So.
yeah, right. Uh,
If we talked about the interviews, we'd be here another hour.
yeah, but there were some funny ones too. How about who was it? Oh my God, who was the wife that showed the tag team bracket? Dude, she seemed like she did not want to be
She was a
on.
Crockett.
She was a Crockett. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is she was introduced. She was showing off like the rankings of like the tag brackets, or like maybe there was a tournament coming up or something.
The Crockett Cup, I think, something like that.
That woman looked like she just put a cigarette out and was like just did not want to be on television. She sounded there was no enthusiasm in her voice. Oh my God, it was laughable. I was cracking up. I don't even know I didn't put that in my notes. Oh my God, it was so funny. Um, yeah. But hey, thank you guys for joining our show. Make sure to tune in tomorrow to listen in on our recap of this year's Clash of Champions. I'm definitely excited for this show actually coming up, man. I think it's going to be a 3-man show. There might be 4 of us. I'm not sure. But make sure to tune in. Show Vince some love, man. Vince is new to this. He hosted the predictions episode. Vince ain't even hosting. Benji is. Well, anyways, Vince will be on the show too. Show our new guys some love, man. We got Benji on there. We got Kevin, and we got Vince.
Colin.
Right?
Colin.
Benji. Who did I say?
Colin. You said Kevin. I'm pretty sure it's Colin.
It is Colin, man. I've been getting there's too many of us now. I'm getting you guys mixed up. I've been calling Benji Sebastian forever, and I've been calling you Benji. Like, this is just a mess, man.
Well, Benji died there for 2 months.
He did, man. He came back the day after we brought in a whole bunch of people, too. That must have been so surreal. Like, damn, they moved on fast.
Hi, guys.
Oh, my God, that was funny. But, yeah, man, tune in, man. Show those boys some love, man. And then make sure also I'll be back come Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm probably going to run all 3 shows next week.
I'm probably back Tuesday.
Yeah. But, yeah, man. Thank you, guys. We'll see you later.
See ya.